We are neither nutritionists or medical providers. The topics discussed on this show are from our own research and experiences. Please consult your medical provider before attempting anything discussed on this show. Welcome to another episode of
Sjogren Strong. This is Brian.
And this is Lupe.
And this is your podcast discussing how to live an active and healthy lifestyle despite a diagnosis for Sjogren's.
Hey, Sjogies. How you doing?
Did you miss us as much as Lupe has missed being behind the mic?
It's been a hot minute. It's been about, I think it's 2 months or close since our last episode. Our last episode was in April.
That it was.
And April 19th, actually, and today is June 13th, so pretty much 2 months.
Almost 2 months.
Yes, but here we are.
So why you been slacking?
Oh, my God. You know what? I think I was just working on myself, getting healthy. Last episode, we spoke about I was having issues swallowing, and I had gone to an ENT, and he did, what did he do? He suffered, Brian?
He scoped your throat.
That's it. And then he put me on Nexium, and then he sent me to,
To get an MRI.
Yep.
Of your throat.
Yep.
While you were swallowing. And while you were breathing.
Yes, exactly. But I wanted to give you guys an update. I appreciate a lot of people have texted me. A lot of people have sent me private messages and commented on posts. And I haven't replied to anybody. My apologies. I was healing myself. I haven't been 100%. And that's why, but here we are. I wanted to give you guys an update because a lot of you guys have been wondering. And so what the doctor said, the doctor that took the whatchamacallit with the barium?
The MRI?
The MRI, that's right. It was an
MRI. So she can eat
throat.
solid food and swallow now, but brain fog's still an issue.
No, but I mean, me in medical terms, I'm not good with that. But basically, he did all that with the barium, and sent me on my way with the disc that a CD that I took to my ENT. And so it turns out that I have, well, it was one of two things. I have really bad acid reflux.
Which is strange because she doesn't normally complain of heartburn.
Well,
you've been living with it for so long, and you've been on pain meds for so long that you didn't think anything of it.
I mean, does heartburn hurt?
It's
or
not
does it burn?
It's not like a flame burn. It's like an acid burn.
Why? I think I've been living it for so long that I didn't recognize it, right? And I mean, I've had issues swallowing forever, even before I was diagnosed, but I thought it was just me, right? So acid reflux, really bad. And also the ENT told me that I also have a hiatal hernia?
Hiatal hernia.
That. And I'm like, what is that? What even causes that?
So it's minor, though, in Lupe. And there's a sphincter at the bottom of our esophagus going into our stomach that will close so stuff in our stomach doesn't go up our throat. But because of all the damaged tissue from the acid reflux, it's not quite working. So part of the stomach is on the north side of that sphincter.
Well, it's a hole in my stomach that is it's a hole that's pushing my stomach into my esophagus.
Right.
What? And I mean, it's how long have I had that? And I mean,
Forever.
How long have I had this issue that it got so bad that my throat practically closed and I wasn't able to swallow?
She would choke on water.
It was so bad. I couldn't swallow water. It was painful.
But when the doctor prescribed ice cream during the healing process, oh boy, was she a happy girl.
I mean, if you've been listening for a while, from the beginning, you know that ice cream is my crack. And, I was having issues swallowing, so I was eating soups. And ice cream was really easy for me to swallow. So I was eating 2.5 gallons. Well, a gallon, right? 2.5 gallons is a gallon. But I was eating a lot of ice cream because it would soothe my throat. It was easy to swallow. And yeah, so I was causing more damage to myself, but I didn't know it at the time. I just knew it was soothing, right? So,
but the awesome news is Nexium over the counter has solved all this issue.
You know what? When the ENT, the first time I went in, he told me to take Nexium, and I took it for 14 days, and then I think when the 14 days were over, I stopped taking it for a week until I saw him again, and during that 7 days, it was hard for me to swallow again.
Yeah,
so
all the issues started coming back.
I'm a lifer again. I'm a lifer on Nexium. When I would eat, I would put like a cushion or a pillow between the seat and my back so that I would totally be upright. I wouldn't be hunched over, and that way it'd be easier for me to swallow, right? Because I thought if I sit up straight, it's going to be easier for me to swallow.
Wait. You thought that?
Yeah. You did. You did.
Not even going to give me cred there.
Yeah. But, I mean, because when you eat, you slouch a little bit. So anyway, since Brian suggested that, that's how I eat. And you know what's really weird? Last week or over the weekend, I caught myself eating and I didn't prop myself up, which I'm like, oh my God, I can swallow. I've been on it for, how long have I been on it?
A month now?
A month, maybe 2. I think I've been on it for 2 months. And every day gets better and better and better. And I expect to feel better next week, but it's definitely getting easier. And I'm able to swallow basically anything. I'm very thankful. I'm very thankful to that doctor, to that ENT, because I had brought up the issue to my roomie and my, general practitioner, and they just brushed it off. It's because you don't produce saliva. That's why. But I knew something was wrong. I knew that it was getting just harder and harder. You know what I mean? So I'm thankful that I have PPO and I was just able to make myself an appointment to go to an ENT without a referral.
Well, and the cool thing is we also found a GI doc, just in case ENT couldn't do anything and or he was going to refer. We started getting things lined up to escalate if need be. But the ENT was able to take care of it, and Nexium on Amazon's pretty cheap. And we're actually going to try the Amazon brand generic Nexium just for a comparison, because at the end of the day, it's like $7 cheaper a month.
Yeah, it's quite a difference. Nexium is $23, and I've been buying the 3-pack, so it's 14 little pills in each. And on Amazon, I was shopping yesterday, and I saw the generic Amazon brand for like $14. It was, it's quite a difference. So we're going to do that.
And I'm going to be the guinea pig first, so I'm going to try it before she changes from Nexium to a generic brand.
And, because I was having issues swallowing, this pill is so tiny, but still I was afraid to swallow it. And I found, for Nexium, I found a mini one. and that's the one I've been taking. And I'm actually the ones that I ordered, Brian, on Amazon, the Amazon brand, they're also the minis. So
nice. Lining
two
it
birds, one
up.
stone.
So now that she can, eat solid food again, and she's back behind the mic, hopefully you'll hear more of us.
Yeah, you know what? Do you think that the hernia made everything worse?
I think that it helped cause the hernia issue.
Yeah, I think so too.
Acid in your stomach too much acid can ulcerate. It can actually burn holes in your stomach.
Yeah.
And it can cause a lot of damage. And back to me trying Nexium, in my line of work on Fridays, I talk a lot. And my throat would get raspier and more gruff than it is now. And I started thinking back, things happen and you just like, what a pain. And you just deal with it and push on. That's my mind anyway. I'm very mission oriented. And when she brought the Nexium in the house, I'm like, you know what? Let me give it a try because I have heartburn from time to time. And it has actually helped me keep my voice. Come Friday afternoon, my voice was done. I could barely talk. And the reduction in acids helped me just speak. So
yeah, imagine if it helped you. Imagine how it helped me. And he noticed that I was able to eat. I don't know. It was just amazing. And I've heard a lot of people talk about gut health, and I guess I didn't. You don't know what you don't know. I just thought my gut is fine. my gut doesn't hurt, but it was all the acids and stuff that was causing everything, and that's gut health.
yeah.
So, but also, I usually eat a lot of lemons and hot sauce and salsa, and I've reduced that a lot, and that has helped me so much as well. So, I've been eating really clean, especially since July 1st.
And you know what? It's funny we're back to eating clean because years ago when we started the show, we had a 30-day vegetarian challenge and we went 6 months without meat. And we felt really good. But a day came along, she looked at me and she said, I want a fish taco. And, we were back onto the meat. But then things start to deteriorate and we're like, we need to get back on a cleaner diet. So we do. And the point of this story here is we get complacent in life. And it's easy to stop and have something to eat that we know we shouldn't have, but just one's not going to hurt. But then one turns into two, and one turns into one a day, and we just start spiraling down until it builds up, and our body's like, all right, no more. And we suffer some sort of medical issue to the point we're back to eating healthy yet again.
If you don't listen to your body when it whispers, you will have to hear it scream.
That's a true statement.
Oh my goodness. I felt my body like if I would sit down on the floor, it was really hard for me to get up, and I would just stay there until Brian came along, or I just had to call out for him, and just my joints achy and just creaky, and it was awful. But since I'm starting to heal my gut, that's new for me. I'm starting to heal my gut, and I've been eating healthy. I'm not as stiff as I used to be. I'm feeling really great. And
well, we're kind of jumping ahead here.
Okay.
So we were able to get the acid under control. During the healing process, you started consuming a lot of ice cream and other things.
Yes.
And then our body said what?
Our body said, hold up, wait a minute.
So can I start the story?
Yeah.
Lupe comes into the studio one day and she's like, does my face look even? And I'm like, no, it doesn't. Sit down. And she shows me a video that she had taken about 10 minutes prior. And there was a noticeable droop on the right side of her face. Her grips were equal. Her pupils were a little dilated, but equal. They weren't real reactive to light. I didn't think it was a stroke, but it's been a long time since I've been out of that profession. So she got introduced to 3 male firefighters and a female firefighter after I called 911.
Woo, woo, woo. Okay, let me back it up a little bit. I was at work, and I walk during my breaks and my lunches when it's not too hot, and I was sending a snap to my friend. I have a friend that we just communicate that way on our breaks, right? And so I was sending her a snap, and I couldn't say a word to save my life. And I wish I remembered what that word was, but I tried it like 5-6 times, and I just couldn't say it. I just kept slurring it. I just couldn't say it. But I didn't think anything of it because I thought, oh my God, brain fog, or I don't know what I was thinking. But I didn't think anything of it. And then I got off work. I went to Marshall's. And while I was at Marshall's, I just got like this sudden hot flash, and I started feeling disoriented and very, very anxious. Like, I need to get out of here. Where is the exit? And I was able to calm myself down, and after I paid, and
of course you got the shopping done.
And let me tell you something funny. Okay, so I went to my car, and I was sending a snap to my sisters because when I was paying this, the cashier, she was speaking in Spanish, and I really liked her accent. And I said, "Hey, where are you from?" And she's like, "Oh, Portuguese." And then she asked me where I was from, and I said, "Oh, I'm Mexican." And she's like, "Oh, you come in here a lot, and I thought you were white." And I was like, "White? You see how dark I am because of the meds that I'm taking? I'm out in the sun, and so I've gotten dark over the years." And so I went to my car, and I calmed myself down a little bit, and I was sending a video. I was taking a video of myself to send it to my sisters, and every time I video myself, I like hearing it back, and I was watching myself, and my mouth was just only one side was moving, and my lip was drooping, and I was like, "What is that?" It was so bad, and I'm like, "Is that how I look when I talk?" So I went back through old videos, and I definitely had a droop. So what I probably should have done is called Brian, but instead of calling Brian, I actually drove to his studio, and I sat down in front of his office, and just what he said, and yeah, he's like, "Oh my God, you're stroking out." So he called 911. B.
Yeah.
So he called 911, and he proceeded to tell them my symptoms and how I was feeling. And we are on the border of Newport and Irvine. So the operators,
literally across the street. So a couple of things. When you call 911 from a cell phone in California, it actually is answered by the California Highway Patrol. They figure out what you're doing, where you are, and then they transfer you to the appropriate dispatch center. So they transferred us to Newport Beach. Well, across the street is Newport Beach. We're actually in Irvine. So Newport sends us to Irvine. Irvine's arguing with Newport over whose issue it was.
And Brian, he got a little loud. And he's like, "Guys, I don't know if you threw an F-bomb in there. I think he did." And he's like, "Guys, I don't want to hear it. I just, you guys can decide where we belong later, I need an ambulance here right now." And so they apologized. And, so it was a fire truck and an ambulance showed up. And I'm like, all right, these guys are good looking. Guess who treated me? There was one lady.
The female
The
firefighter.
female, she comes over and I was like, oh man. But she took my vitals. She pricked my finger, see, my sugar levels. Everything was normal. What is it when they do that thing to your arm?
Yeah, so her blood pressure was normal.
Yeah.
Her vitals were normal. And at this time, some of the droop started to go away. However, she was still slow to answer. She was still slurring a little bit. And they basically said, look, you need to go to the hospital. We can put you in an ambulance. It's here. And me, having worked in that business, I said, well, we're just going to AMA and go ourselves if this is going to be a BLS run, a basic life support run. And they're like, okay, sign here. And we AMA'd out against medical advice and drove straight to the ER at Hogue. And we're fortunate, so fortunate, to have one of the leading neurological hospitals down the street. And when we get there, the waiting room is packed.
Oh, my God. It was packed to the gills.
And Lupe's like, oh, my gosh, I don't want to wait. Let's just go home. I'm like, we're not going to wait. Check this out. And the nurse says, what's going on? And I said, possible stroke, right side numbness. And she's like, follow me.
Man, they put me in a wheelchair so fast. We were, she checked me in 2 seconds. And she's like, okay, don't panic. I think she rolled me from her little office. They put me on a bed. And she's like, okay, don't freak out. You're going to have like 20 people coming at you. Oh, my goodness. So, she takes me to the back. Fortunately, they let Brian go back with me. And they're like, okay, take off your shirt, just like you see on TV. Take off everything. And they started taking your vitals, asking questions, the whole works. And the doctor, he asked me, do medical conditions, so I said, I'm Sjogren's, Hashimoto's. What meds are you on? I told him what meds I'm on. And I was just paying attention to the doctor and he's asking questions. And a few minutes later, this is really funny to me. A few minutes later, because you got people checking your legs, your head, your arms, everything. And I'm finally aware of a nurse, or I'm sorry, I don't know if he was a nurse, but let's call him a nurse. I'm finally aware that he's trying to find a vein on my left arm. And so I turn and I say to him, are you trying to find a vein? And he's like, yes, ma'am. And I said, you're never going to find a vein in that arm. I'm a very hard stick. I said, I suggest you try the right. And he's still there, trying to find a vein until somebody else says, if she says right, go to her right. They struggled a little bit, but it was easier. But I don't know, when they poked me, I didn't feel anything. Usually you feel a little prick, but...
you didn't feel anything because you had 20 people surrounding you doing all kinds of stuff to you at the same time.
I know, and I don't know what kind of needle or what, but blood just gushed everywhere because I don't know if they were just rushing, panic. Maybe it was me, but it just blood everywhere, from this needle, and I don't know why that happened.
So before we move on, if we can, I would like to talk about strokes. And the way we always thought of a stroke is to the brain what a heart attack is to the heart. Every second counts. And some of the signs and symptoms of a stroke are sudden numbness or weakness in face, arm, or leg, especially one side of the body over the other. Confusion, trouble seeing, trouble speaking, trouble walking, difficult understanding speech, and it's a very emergent situation. Unfortunately, here in Orange County, pre-hospital care, a paramedic can push drugs to help slow the effects and buy that time that is so precious while they're transporting you to the hospital. And when the paramedics said that they were going to go by ambulance only, BLS, basic life support, that's when I said we're going to opt out. The EMTs, all they can do is give oxygen en route, and I'm going to be probably just as fast as they are because there's no lights and sirens in a BLS call. And Probably got there a little quicker because, it's my wife and I'm speeding. But, we opted to go that route. But listen, if you're experiencing these signs or symptoms, numbness, confusion, trouble seeing, trouble walking, please call 911 immediately. It's better to call them and have them come out and then rule stroke out and then make a decision of what you're going to do instead of going, oh, it's just nothing. It's just a headache. I'll be fine. Because the longer that stroke is occurring, the worse the damage is going to be, and to the point of you could have deficit for the rest of your life, which is what we don't want.
Well, when they said that I was okay, all I'm thinking is, oh my God, how much is it going to cost for them to take me via ambulance to the hospital, right? I'm like, I don't know. This is my first time experience anything like this, going to the hospital. I've never been to the hospital, thankfully, so I was freaking out a little bit.
And then a basic BLS ride of that distance would probably be about $1,200.
Oh, dear Lord.
So, us taking the Jeep was, in my opinion, an okay course of action after the paramedics ruled out stroke.
But Hogue, they took really good care of me. How long was I there for?
We were only there for about 3.5 hours. So from the time we pulled in to the time we pulled out was about 3.5 hours. And again, having the background in emergency medicine, I say stroke, they call a code neuro, and I kind of giggled because I knew what Lupe was in for, and her never having been to the ER before or admitted into the hospital, it was going to be quite the show.
But I was in my little room. They're like, okay, take off your clothes, just leave your chonies on. So I was going to get up off the bed, and they're like, no, because they put a bracelet on me. It was bright yellow, and what did it say? It said something like...
fall precaution.
Yeah, something like I could fall. And so they wouldn't let me get out of bed, so there I am. Anything metal. Well, I don't know, Brian, you could talk about this, but they pushed some drugs, took my vitals.
Yeah, so they got her started on a drip. They did push some drug. When it came time for the MRI, she had to remove everything metal to include a belly button piercing.
Oh, my God. Guys, I've had my belly button, and I know I probably should have removed it several years ago, because, hello, I'm older. But I had to take my earrings, everything off, and they're like, do you have any piercings? And I'm like, yep, I got a belly ring, and I had to take it off. I'm like, oh my God, I've had it for like 25 years. But I had to remove that. So,
and then she forgot her bobby pins.
Oh, wait, I was going to say that. Hold on.
I stole your thunder.
So that you always do that. And so then, the guy comes, they say, they ask you a lot of, oh my God. So they ask you a lot of questions like, do you have plates or anything metal in your body, from surgery? And I'm like, nope. I'm healthy. Nothing. And, she's like, oh, that's easy. But still, she had to run through everything, right? Do you have this? Do you have that? Blah, 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 blah. And I said, no. And then when they're rolling me over to get the MRI, I was already in front of the machine of the room. And I forgot I have like 10 bobby pins in my hair because I have really short curly hair, and I kind of use it as like a headband. So I was like, oh man, my bobby pins, because they said nothing metal. So anyways, good thing that I remembered. I took them off, and so that was fun. So then I got off the bed, and I just looked at this machine, and I was kind of okay, but I started freaking out, because the guy laid me down, and they put your head on this block of, I don't know, it's just a block. It kind of lifts your head a little bit. And then they put like this baseball helmet, what goes in your face for football players, whatever it's called. And so your head is on a block. It's elevated just barely. And then they put this like helmet on your face, and so you cannot move your head to save your life. And I kind of started panicking a little bit because of a few things, right? Who wants to be in a tube? Because I don't know, am I claustrophobic or right or what, right? But and then as I'm laying there, and he started, putting me in a little bit, and I have acid reflux, so when I sleep, I'm never laying down. I'm always upright, and so I kind of started freaking out. My mouth got really dry, and I could feel, maybe in my head, I could feel the the acid reflux right in my throat, and I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna choke in here." Oh, I freaked out a little bit. I started kicking my feet, and I was like, they give you like a little ball so you could push if you need to get a hold of the tech. So I started pushing it, and he's like, "Yes, ma'am. What do you need?" You need to get me out. No, why? You need to get me out right now. And I started kicking my feet. Oh my God, it's like a little tantrum. And I freaked out, guys.
And it's easy to do. I don't consider myself claustrophobic, but I get MRIs about every 6 months of the head, and yeah, they lock your head down in that block, and the only way I can get through it is before they start putting me into the tube, I have to close my eyes. And if I open my eyes just for a second, it's over. I lose it. I freak. I'm squeezing the plunger. I'm trying to wiggle myself out, but my head's stuck in this block, and that's the only way I can get through it, is to keep my eyes closed, listen to the rhythm of the machine, just think about a blue sky and clouds floating overhead. I just have to keep my mind occupied for that 15, 20 minutes while I'm in the tube.
Yeah, so then I calmed myself a little bit, and he's like, "Ma'am, we have to do it again." I said, "Do you have to like start over from the beginning?" And he's like, "Yes, ma'am." And so, I took a deep breath, and we just started all over again. I don't know how long I was in there for. He kept saying, "Oh, just 2 more minutes." I swear I was in there for an hour. But I calmed myself down, and he said, "Just think, just happy thoughts, you're in Hawaii." And I'm like, I can't imagine being in Hawaii because I've never been to Hawaii. So, but I had all these thoughts, good and bad, going through my mind, but I tried to calm myself, just breathe, and I got through it. I don't know how I got through it, but I did not open my eyes. I just tried to remain calm, and it was really hard because you're in this tube and there's no way out.
Well, and then they had to do it twice because they did it without contrast, and then they pushed contrast, and you had to do another scan with contrast.
Oh, the nurse, before they took me in, she's like, "Okay, then they're going to do the contrast." And she said, some people feel hot, some people feel cold. So towards the end, probably the last 5 minutes, they pushed that in. And I got so cold. I felt my arm. It was like ice. And, my arm got cold. So then my entire body got cold. It was really freaky.
So what did it end up being?
You know what they said? The doctor said, he came and he said it was Bell's palsy. I always say it wrong. Bell's palsy.
Bell's palsy.
Yeah, and I'm like, what is that? And what causes it? And what I remember that he said, Brian, correct me if I'm wrong. He said that sometimes a couple of things can cause it. He said stress and inflammation. And I said, "Oh, great."
Viral infection.
Oh, right. And I said, "Well, shoot, I have both stress and inflammation. Why do I have inflammation? Because Sjogren's A,
and
B.
You've been eating a gallon of ice cream a day.
Yes. Sjogren's A, B, I've been consuming a lot of sugar since I was having trouble swallowing. And I know that sugar causes inflammation, but I don't know. I just kept eating it because it was soothing, and I have stress because the company that I work for, they got acquired. The owner sold it, and I'm in Orange County, and they have an office in LA. And for those of you not familiar with the area, what is that, like a 40-mile difference, Brian?
It would be about a 32-mile drive.
Yeah, and
now for those of you that live in the Midwest, that's 10 minutes. Here in Southern California, it's a cool hour and a half.
Yeah, and so I'm like, I'm not trying to, and I work literally 3 miles from my house, and it takes me 5 minutes, right, to get from my house to work and vice versa. And I'm like, I'm not trying to sit in traffic for 3 hours a day. And so that has been stressing me out, the unknown. Of course, they're not going to tell you that you're moving, right? Right now, they're telling us, oh, no, reassuring, we're not moving, we're not moving. But yeah, I already know we're moving because they moved into a bigger building. And why would they have to? Why would they be leasing out to? It doesn't make sense. So yeah, everything that he said, and then he said that we have like a small nerve behind the ear, like a small wiry nerve behind the ear that gets inflamed. And sometimes that's what causes, facial droop and Bell's palsy. Palsy. And that's what causes it. And I'm like, oh my God. So he put me on prednisone.
And what a wild ride that was.
A 6-day prednisone. And, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right? The first day you take 6, second day you take 5. And so this happened, the whole 911, everything happened on a Thursday. I had Friday off for Memorial Day weekend, so I was going to have Friday and Monday off, and this kind of threw a wrench in all our plans. And so prednisone, it's supposed to help with inflammation, right? I don't feel that it helped with inflammation. It really just made my brain dumb. It was hard for me to speak. It just numbed my brain. Right, Brian?
It did. And to the point, I encouraged her to email her employer and said, look, I'm not 100%. I can check in. I can work from home, limitedly. And I believe you did Monday, but you were feeling better by Tuesday and went in, and you were off of it Wednesday, correct?
Yeah. And so, because, well, when I was at the hospital, they pushed a lot of prednisone, right?
Yeah, they gave you, I don't know how much they pushed in your IV, but it was liquid via IV.
Yeah, so that was on Thursday, and then on Friday, I had to go fill my script. And, I had the best experience because they said, where would you like us to send your prescription? And I said, oh, can you send it to Costco? I had never been to Costco, but I usually go to the pharmacy at Target. But because they told me they didn't accept my insurance, I said Costco. And I had the best experience there. I went, I'm here to fill a script. They're like, oh, it's not ready yet. Why don't you take a seat and we'll call you over? So, she called me over. I started taking out my insurance card and everything. And she's like, no, ma'am, just handed me the bag. You don't know anything. And I'm like, I've never been here before. How do you have my insurance? Well, they got all that from Hogue. And great experience, both at Hogue and at Costco Pharmacy.
Yeah. So now she's been off the prednisone for, 2 weeks?
Yeah, but you know what? When I was, I think, probably my second to my last day, your mind is getting clearer, and I'm still a little bit slow, but I felt good. My body felt good, because who cares if my brain is foggy? I wasn't talking, so I got home, and I have a stationary bike, and I felt really good, and I thought, you know what? I'm going to hop on my bike. So I did that 2 days in a row, and the following day was Friday, and guys, it knocked me on my butt. And I don't know if it was the prednisone that put me into a really big flare, or I don't know if because my body went through so much trauma that exercising really knocked me on my butt.
And I kind of summed it up to, you're dealing with Bell's palsy, a lot of new medications, you haven't been eating great, and then you stressed your body on a bike.
Well, I got really bummed because, I had been feeling so great that I bought 2 tickets to, what was the name of that place? Pino's Palette. It was a couple's night, and you would paint. You went to paint, right? And it was couples. So Brian had the left side, I had the right side, and then you join them together, and they make a big picture. And I was like, I don't have the energy to do that, but it was expensive. It was $80, so I kind of pushed through it, and I'm glad I did. It was fun, even though it was hard because I was in pain.
I had a glass of wine, and she had a hot chocolate.
This flare, I haven't flared in a very long time, and this flare was very painful. Usually when I flare, I feel really tired and fatigued, and my arms and my legs, they feel like cinder blocks, but that was not the case this time. But my entire body ached to the touch. My clothes hurt. The air touching my skin hurt. It was really bad. Well, Brian didn't know, and he came in for a hug, and I was like, oh my God, I freaked out. Please do not touch me. It was painful.
Yeah,
was that the prednisone, right?
Well, who knows?
Yeah.
That was the first time you've been on prednisone. But,
yeah.
It's just one of those things, too. When we feel ill and we're down for a while, when we start feeling better, it's like, oh, I want to tackle the world. And, you're not 100% yet, and that's not a great time to tackle anything.
Yeah. So I think I did it to myself. The inflammation, the Bell's palsy. Yeah, I was thinking. I told Brian, I think I did that to myself. If it's inflammation and that little wiry nerve behind the ear that gets inflamed, I'm like, I did that to myself because of all the ice cream that I've been eating, and so I swore off of ice cream. If I'm craving ice cream, I'm just gonna go to 31 Flavors and just get a scoop for $10, right? But I'm not keeping it in the house. I've been eating really healthy since this thing happened, and I'm gonna keep it up because I just feel good. And now that the prednisone is out of my system and I'm not achy, I can get myself off the floor.
Your mind's a little sharper.
But you know what, guys? I do want to tell you this. The prednisone, it's supposed to help with inflammation. I don't know, yes or no. But since the 1st of June, I got the prednisone out of my system, I stopped taking it. And I've been taking my meds how they were prescribed. And because I have a lot of inflammation, and I thought, you know what, I need to get rid of it. And so I've been taking my meds. I Plaquenil. I'm on a pill called Dolobid that helps with inflammation, as does Plaquenil. But both together, they're very powerful. And I'm not in pain. I haven't felt any pain. Although these pills, they didn't help with my flare. So, but my inflammation on my fingers, it's going down so much to the point where I have a lot of discoloration on my knuckles. My fingers are just swollen. And Brian, right?
Oh, no, they are. And it's funny. When we all look down at our fingers, go ahead, right or left hand, doesn't matter, and we hold our fingers straight, we see the wrinkles around the joints. Yeah. And she's actually marked the line that she can see closest to the inflammation. And as the inflammation goes down, she can see more and more creases appear on her finger. And that's one way she measures how inflamed her hands are.
Well, my fingers are inflamed to the tip of my hands are inflamed to the tip of my finger. And since I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it was the prednisone or maybe it's the Nexium. It's a combination of healing your gut, of being on my meds properly. The inflammation, yeah, I have no words for it, but it's helping me and I'm going to stick to it.
It really is. And Bell's palsy, from everything we've read, they think a few things cause it. They don't really know for sure. And it usually takes care of itself in time. Lupe being in the ER under physician's care, pushing the prednisone, having the IV, getting that hydration back up, and everything that they did for her, she was pretty much back to normal within a couple of days, which was awesome.
You know what's funny is that they say prednisone is supposed to help with inflammation, but I feel like a marshmallow. Like, I felt a little bit inflamed. Like my face looked like a marshmallow to me, you know. But slowly it started going away, and I'm feeling really good.
Which is awesome.
Yeah. So I wanted to share this with everybody, and just, if you, first of all, don't be like me, right? Do as I say, not as I do. For a long time, you get tired of taking your meds, and I know I wasn't taking them properly. And the Plaquenil, I actually cut it in half, and I would take half in the morning and half at night, right? And then it got to the point where, you know what, I'm too lazy to get up. I'm just not going to take it at night. So I was just taking my meds in the morning. And so don't do that, because I think the acid reflux, it's just everything with time, everything build up. And, what happened to me is I couldn't eat, So take your meds as prescribed. Eat as healthy as possible. Listen to your body. Try to recognize, but if you do recognize, do not ignore your symptoms. And, sometimes you go to the doctor, they don't listen to you. Just push and push. They have to listen to you, because I think a lot of the times we forget that we're the patient, we're the customer. You know what I mean? We're paying you. You know what I mean? Why do we have to take everything they say at face value? Be your own advocate if possible. I know sometimes it's hard. All these things that I listed, it's hard, but
it's a lot easier to do now than it used to be. While we are sitting in the ER, we're Googling.
Yeah.
And we're checking, we're confirming. For example, we already had a plan B established if the ENT came back and said surgery.
Yeah.
And we were, immediately going to go in for a second opinion. But no, you have to be your own advocate. And I've got horror story after horror story of people not being their own advocate from my 911 days. And it's, our generation, I'm 50. We grew up, you listen to the doctor, you trust the doctor. But with websites like John Hopkins, which I shared a link in the chat of this episode if you're listening on Spreaker, with websites like the CDC and the Mayo Clinic, and there's so much information that's seconds away at our fingertips. And if something doesn't make sense, ask questions. If your questions aren't answered, you continue to ask. If they're speaking in medical terms, you ask them to speak in layman's terms. You leave 100% satisfied with their explanations and their course of treatment, and a referral if need be. I don't want to say don't trust them, but you need to have an understanding of what they're explaining.
I always tell the doctor when they're speaking to me in medical terms, with my Sjogrens and my brain fog, my brain, my mind doesn't work like it used to be, and I can't retain all that information. And so I always tell them, can you dumb it down for me? I don't care. Just, can you dumb it down for me, talk to me like I'm 5 so I could understand it. And also, I always, if I'm going to go see a new doctor, I always ask Brian to go with me. And, thankfully he's always there for me, Brian. Thank you very much. I really appreciate you for that. Thank you for always being by my side. And I'm lucky that I have him and he has a medical background, and before we go see the doctor, I actually tell him, this is what I want to say. Maybe I don't know how to say it, but, so he'll tell the doctor on my behalf. And, I'm thankful to have him. And, yeah.
We got each other's back.
Yeah. So, but I'll also remember, I mean, I'm not bashing on doctors, but at the end of the day, aren't we all just a file folder, okay, so check it. This is what I mean by that. When you're at work and you're at your desk and you make yourself a little Post-it note, so you don't forget something, eventually it's just the paper that's there and you kind of forget about it, right? And I just feel that's just the way I feel, we're just a file folder to them, and they don't know you. They just know what they're reading in a book, oh, Sjogren's is just dry eye and dry mouth. What are you talking about? You have joint pain or whatever, you know what I mean? So be your own advocate, push. Because like I said, we're the patient. We're paying them.
We are the customer.
Yeah,
definitely. And, be respectful. That's key, and they will take the time to make sure you're happy and you understand what's going on. And, if they're not taking the time to answer your questions and they're dismissive and they're not, that's a doctor you don't go see again.
Yeah.
And, you find somebody who will take the time to make sure you understand. It's hard for us to fix things if we don't understand the full ramifications of. So by them taking the time to answer those questions, we can better help ourselves and help them treat us and our conditions. And to Lupe's point of the file folder, it's not that we don't care. It's just that you're the task at hand, like any task at any job. When 911 would ring and we would show up, you were our mission for that, 20 to 30 minutes we interacted with you. And as soon as we delivered you to an ER and parted ways, it's back to water cooler talk with your partner when you're readying the rig to go back to work. What's for lunch and it's just.
While you're working on the patient. I've seen that on TV.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm just saying it's you're the task at hand. So it's not that they don't care. It's the fact that they're collecting as much information to give you the best diagnosis that they can. It doesn't mean they're right. When a doctor says this is Bell's palsy, I don't even think your doctor said that. We have diagnosed this as Bell's palsy.
Yes.
It was the most relevant answer given the information that they were able to collect.
I mean, facial droop and all, right? So that makes sense. And about a week later, I did follow up with the neuro, right? And he's like, yeah, everything's normal. You're not presenting any signs of anything. It healed itself, basically, right? And the good thing is, like Brian said, 20% chance that it happens again. So hopefully it won't happen to me again. And what caused it? I don't know. Inflammation and stress.
So for everybody that would like to see that video, because I'm sure it's still on Lupe's phone.
What?
Hit her up on Instagram and say, please share.
Oh, my God. Well, I took the video. You could take a screenshot of the video, and my lip is totally droopy. But guys, I think we're just going on and on. But, yeah, your health is important. And I'm going to repeat my little bullet points right here. Take your meds as prescribed. Eat as healthy as possible. Listen to your body, because if you don't listen to your body when it whispers, you will have to hear it scream. And you don't want that. It's awful. Recognize And if you do recognize, don't ignore your symptoms, and be your own advocate as possible.
And with all of that having been said,
until next time, sip constantly and stay hydrated.